Oil companies making their case to Interior Secretary Ken Salazar to allow them to drill, baby, drill. They say they're prepared to respond to a spill similar to the BP disaster or greater. Time to let the Willis watchdogs out. Paul Westcott is the host of White House Brief. Leslie Marshall is a Fox News contributor, and Fox Business's very own Robert Gray joins us from the newsroom. Leslie, let's start with you.
Well, basically, I've always said, and so has Ken Salazar, that, we'll let you drill if we're sure that we're not going to have a repeat of the BP oil spill. So I think it's great that these companies are stepping up to the plate and saying we want to prove that we can do this. And I think it's essential for jobs and economic growth that at some point we allow the drilling to continue and to proceed. But we do need to make sure it's safe.
But, Paul, you look at what's going on right now with oil and gas prices. We've got to get it underway soon.
Yeah, absolutely. The drilling has to start right away. And you know what? Ken Salazar, the White House, everybody's finally coming around to this reality that, BP stunk as a company and they really messed up over 700 violations as opposed to the other drilling companies, which had 5 or 6. So finally, let these other guys go back into place and really supervise BP.
Robert, now I know you're going to have an interesting point of view on this because you probably thought a lot about the stock, BP, that is.
Yes.
Shouldn't they be drilling already? Why didn't this happen months ago? People have been unemployed. The economy is hurting. I just can't believe it took this long.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard a lot from the folks whose lives have been affected on both sides of this, the fishermen as well as, the drillers. And they're all really basically from the same families along the Gulf Coast down there. And we've heard a lot about from them here on Fox Business. The most interesting thing to me is taking this consortium this long. It's being spearheaded by ExxonMobil and some of the biggest oil companies out there, U.S. oil companies. You would have thought they would have pressed to get an audience a little bit sooner. Maybe, though, they're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. The last thing we want to do is spend this spring, like last spring, counting the numbers of days until they can finally plug the well. So we want them to be safe, but we definitely want them to get back out there.
All right. The New York Daily News reporting some of the city's richest residents, including Yankee star Alex Rodriguez, are paying practically nothing in terms of property taxes. How can this be true? Well, New York grants a 98% tax abatement for up to 25 years to condo owners in newly built housing. Paul, this sends me right over the edge.
No,
I don't know about you.
Oh, no, it sends me over the edge as well. You know what? I hate taxes as much as anybody, but at the same time, you have to realize these guys, they're not enforcing the existing laws, or the laws are really messed up here. And, when I look at my tax bill compared to A-Rod's tax bill, that really sends me getting angry here.
Well, that's the real problem, is that middle-class taxpayers are paying a ton more than the most highly compensated sports star in New York. I'm sorry, Robert, help me out here. I'm having a little cow here.
Yeah, well, I think I need some help, too. I think I need a better real estate agent and a better accountant here. This 421A, I've never heard of it, but clearly, I don't live in a high enough dollar penthouse to qualify for this kind of abatement here. And what's interesting is they do an offset with, low-income housing with this. I wonder, though, in the big scheme of things, if you couldn't build, this low-income housing for a lot less expensive, if A-Rod were paying his taxes, that would more than offset. I think his taxes alone could build a lot of housing.
Right, build a lot of housing, do a lot of things. All right, Leslie, what do you think? I mean, shouldn't everybody have to pay this?
Well, I'll tell you, I live in California, but I used to live in New York, and I used to live in the city. I didn't live in the A-Rod type penthouse either. But I have to say, where are the protesters taking to the streets, guys? Because we can't blame the unions or GM on this one, all right? This is an example of benefiting the rich, which I, as one of the lone liberal Democrats around here, constantly says hurts the middle class, and here's proof of it right here.
And not just the rich, but the super-duper rich. All right, speaking of super-duper rich, let's go on to the next story. This time, Charlie Sheen he's gone too far. After a violent and anti-Semitic radio rant, CBS and Warner Brothers Television announced they were ending production on 2.5 Men. That's his television show. The decision to end television's #1 comedy for the season was based, quote, totally on Charlie Sheen's statements, conduct, and condition. Robert?
And they're surprised why? I mean, they've really been banking on his whole persona like this, and even basically writing some of it into the script. Truth is stranger than fiction, I guess. But, it just seems like he may have finally gone over the edge. Who knows? His car did what last year, mysteriously over the cliffs there. I think this gets made up, and the show comes back. It's making too much money for everyone involved, and, this is the one vehicle that thus far he hasn't managed to wreck. But perhaps this is it.
The one vehicle he hasn't wrecked, Leslie, but could have happened.
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, you remember the old PSA, this is your brain on drugs? Well, obviously, instead of the egg yolk, we need to have a picture of Charlie Sheen. I live in L.A., I live in La La Land, and these celebrities, they screw up, and they get drunk, and they get drugged, and they stand up, and they impregnate somebody, and they blame the Jews whenever they get drunk, and they keeping their jobs, and then they get angry when they've lost it. I mean, come on.
It is astonishing. Paul?
Well, it's easy. The liberal blaming the drug addict. I'm actually going to defend the guy. You know what? Honestly, addiction, I'm the conservative defending the drug addict. I mean, all in all, the guy, he seems like he had it together for a while. He had a friend re-enter his life who, really messed him up in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of backstory here. I'm not going to judge totally yet. I think the show's definitely coming back next season, though.
Sad, sad, sad. All right, well, here's a good story. Drivers in Washington State with a record of drunken driving could be required to have special license plates designated with the letter Z. Leslie, you liking that?
Well, this is where I'm very to the right of Attila the Hun on crime, really? And that is a crime. You know what? I'm not into scarlet letters, which I think this is. I'm into just yanking the license. What is this? Three strikes? I give my kids 1 strike. Mommy says it 1 time, and that's how it should be. Sorry, you get a DUI, you lose your license. And that would really, I think, be a measure to make people think twice before drinking and getting behind the wheel.
Paul, tough love?
You know what it is. And once again, here we go. I'm going to be the conservative who's actually on the side of the drunk drivers. Well, that's what it's going to sound like. I'm not in favor of drunk driving, obviously, but at the end of the day, it is a scarlet letter. It's one of those things where maybe if that's part of the punishment or the only part of the punishment, that's okay. But if you're going to give jail time, they're going to do their time to society. Let's just let that be.
Robert?
Yeah, I don't think this is the best idea here. You've got already these options you can add to the car. You blow into the straw, maybe it doesn't start if you've been drinking, and plus you could be driving someone else's car. I think it is just a little bit of the scarlet letters, a pretty good way to sum it up. Probably not the best idea. Although, if Charlie Sheen moves to Seattle, it may not be a bad one.
Right. Good last word there. Thanks, Paul, Leslie, and Robert. We'll be right back with my 2 cents on more mixed messages from the White House on Obamacare. Coming up.